Unplugged, here we go. Rudy and the crew, exclusive interview. Welcome to the show, let's have some fun. Sweep Unplugged starts now.
Hey, how you guys doing today? It is another time for another episode of Sweep Unplug on Sweep the Lead TV. Man, we're going to be talking about sports today, and we have a woman in business, CEO herself, Kate Allgood. Kate Allgood. She is the CEO of Quantum Perfomance Incorporated, and you're going to learn everything about not just what she does with her brand, but all the people that she gets to inspire and make an impact on. Little background on her. She is a sports athlete herself. She grew up playing hockey at the age of 2, excelled in organized ice hockey by 6. She was recognized as one of Canada's top female athletes. Later on in life, she was a potential contender for the 2010 Winter Olympics, and we thought that was enough. She is a rock star, 2 master's degrees in psychology, 14 plus years of experience in mindset coaching. She also is an expert in mental toughness and high performance coaching. Before we take up too much time on this, I have one more thing. When it comes to client experience, she has worked with some of the most elite clients across various fields, including MLB, NFL, NHL, UFC, Supercross, motocross, and LPGA, and also military. So it's a true honor having our guest today, Kate Allgood. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
Man, I had to hurry up and wrap it up. It's almost 2 minutes into the segment. So first and foremost, we're blessed to have you on. Someone like you to have that kind of list on your portfolio, and just the ambitions clearly there at a young age, playing hockey at 2. I was probably eating ice cream or something. But first and foremost, kind of share the audience a little bit about the background of how you got started with Quantum Perfomance Incorporated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as I came towards the end of my athletic career, I needed to start to look at what was I going to do next. And so for me, working in the world of sports, working with athletes just seemed to be the best match. And I started off actually working with athletes on the physical side, doing some biomechanics work, but having had my undergrad in psychology and kind of having a passion for understanding the mind and seeing the influence it had on my career and some of those athletes I was working with after my career on the physical side with the biomechanics, I decided that probably was going to be the best match for me. And so that which led to me kind of founding Quantum Perfomance.
When you think about mental skills, I mean, not only did you know that firsthand with your personal experience, but dealing with clients, what mental skills are essential for responding effectively under pressure, especially as someone that has been able to see that personal experience?
Yeah, I think 2 really stand out. Number 1 is confidence. I think anybody, no matter if you're a high school athlete or the professional athletes I worked with, the ability to be confident in yourself and the ability to be confident to deal with the obstacles that are going to come your way, because that's inevitable. And then number 2, your ability to manage your focus and to make sure you are focusing on the right thing at the right time, because that is one of the biggest things that will get impacted under pressure is what are you paying attention to? Do you start getting in your head or focusing on distractions or the mistake you just made? So being able to focus on the right thing at the right time, staying present, that's also very, very important.
A lot of times, athletes, fans, we get to see them just do their thing once the bright lights hit and it's game time. But we don't get to see the behind the scenes, the grind, the work ethic, the training, overcoming hurdles when they get injured. When you look at from the athlete perspective, when you think about emotional regulation, how do you see athletes be able to manage their emotions, and especially like fear or anger if they are trying to recover from an injury? How can they do that as far as being be able to respond more effectively?
Yeah, there's a number of ways, but you're correct. The ability to control your emotions and have that arousal control, whether you're in the middle of the game or dealing with injuries, is really, really important. I think there's a couple of things. One, meditation It's definitely one of the best ways to learn how to manage yourself and manage your emotions, to be able to detach from them so that you can kind of view them and observe them without judgment, and then be able to make a decision if you want to, obviously respond or react on that emotion, or make a different choice in that moment. I think journaling is also a great thing to deal with managing the thoughts that you have and maybe the emotions that you also have. And if someone is injured, another thing that's going to really help them is to make sure that they're still creating routines and structure and goals around that injury that they're dealing with, because a lot of the time for an athlete, they've been in such a structured, and they have a goal for that season, and then it's all got kind of thrown out the window with the injury, so they have to kind of readjust, and during that time period make sure they kind of are keeping things pretty similar to how it would be if they weren't injured.
You have a website that our audience can visit, qpathlete.com. And understanding that you don't just work with clients who necessarily are about athletic background, but you also for sports and life professionals. So my next question for you would be, when you think about high performers and how they deal with pressure, how do top performers maintain that focus and composure in high stressful situations?
They've developed the mental skills, the mindset, the ability to maintain a high focus on themselves and that stillness within them. And so that even if the chaos is kind of swirling around them, or things, and that could be even the chaos within themselves, the thoughts or the emotions that are popping up because of that pressure, they're able to stay focused on that stillness and drive everything from that stillness, so they can create that detachment, just observe those things, but not be driven by those things that maybe are coming up that would otherwise kind of derail their performance.
You're watching Sweet Unplugged, talking to our special guest, Kate Allgood. When you think about reminiscing nostalgia, like you being growing up, I mean, wow, age of 2, I can't get over that. That's very impressive. When you think about the time it took for you to develop your skill set with training and practice, take us back in your own experience. What was that like for you growing up, being able to be exposed to that at such a young age?
Yeah, it was, I mean, I grew up in Toronto, so in Canada, so, being put on skates at a young age was pretty, I guess, normal, for in one sense, for us. So, for me, it was just, I was fortunate that my dad, did a backyard rink every year, and I just loved the repetitive nature of trying to get good at something. So, whether it was skating or stick handling or shooting or trying to do a move, I just spent hours and hours just trying to perfect it. And obviously, you never do, but kind of that journey and that process of trying to really refine it and find the best way to do it was something I loved. So I really loved the process that was associated with getting, very good at hockey.
You see how business leaders or entrepreneurs, how they apply their ability to not cave in to pressure and worry about the mistakes that naturally come through the process. How can those business leaders be able to sustain their success? Because it's one thing to have it for one day, but it's another thing to actually use it to build momentum for the future.
I think the biggest thing is process oriented individuals, people who are constantly wanting to improve, right? They're not really focused on an endpoint. So when they do reach that, I guess, quote unquote success or some type of milestone that would maybe deem them successful, to them, they understand that's just kind of a peg. They still will, I think, acknowledge it and say, yeah, I'm in the right direction, but let's keep going. So you could look at business leaders, but the world of athletics obviously has so many great examples of individuals, whether it's Tom Brady or Drew Brees or, the Wayne Gretzky's in the world of hockey. For me, they just loved the process. They loved constantly getting better, refining the basics. And I think that's the same for a leader, is just constant improvement. And how do they constantly become better within themselves? I think that's what allows them to sustain it.
We mentioned earlier the clients you've been able to work with: MLB, NFL, NHL, UFC, military. With your personal experience in the athletic world, what were some of the things, and also your education as well, what were some of the things that you found was able to translate to working with these elite clients, and also just giving them that satisfactory that you're someone that actually been in this game, so you kind of know from a unique perspective.
Yeah, I think just that, been there, done that, have the ability to empathize and to understand where they're coming from. I think that's, been one of the biggest things when you look at most elite athletes, they do generally like to work with somebody who understands them, and has been in their shoes and can understand that pressure and being in the big moments and being able to thrive, and at the same time, maybe having moments when you don't, and to really be able to obviously understand that, and then with that now coupled with the education, be able to guide them to the point they're wanting to get to.
And before we wrap this up, when you think about the brand that you've been able to build, Quantum Performance Incorporated, you have resources, courses, and presentations that your clients can view and see. What do you believe sets your brand apart from others outside of obviously being yourself? But what are some of the things you see has been able to say, okay, there's something great about Quantum Performance Incorporated compared to the other guy?
It's a good question, right? That's always a hard thing to always answer because you're right. Besides me, obviously, I would think I do make a difference. But one of the other big things is the assessment that I utilize, and I'm not the only one, but I'm one of the few who do and use it pretty consistently. It's called the TASE assessment, and it just really helps me understand somebody much quicker than I otherwise would. Specifically, how are they going to perform under pressure, and what are maybe the first dominoes that might start to get disrupted under pressure, so that we can be very specific and very targeted with the tools or the techniques, the mindset, whatever it is that we need to be working on to help that individual to make it more impactful, sooner than just sitting there and talking over a period of time.
And if you thought that she wasn't busy enough, you are also an author. If you can, kind of breeze through some of the books you were able to publish, and how can our audience viewers be able to get those books?
Yeah, so Get Into the Zone was the first book I published, and that's a great beginner's guide. It's very short, to the point, and if you're just kind of first looking at this type of work, I think that's a great place to kind of gain some understanding. And then I built a little bit off of that on Fortitude, but then my most recent book is The Athlete Within, so it's a much more comprehensive book because it's was kind of 14 years in the making to create what I understood. And what I do understand is really the key areas that someone needs to focus in on to perform at a high level. So if you're a beginner, I'd start with maybe Get Into the Zone. If you're more advanced, The Athlete Within is a great book.
When
Maybe
you think,
get them
oh,
at Amazon. Sorry.
oh, no worries. Yeah, make sure you get those at Amazon. When you think about young athletes, a lot of them sometimes can face pressure from the parents, because the parents might think that that's my superstar. Don't, like, let's see how far they can go. How do you address the younger athletes, how they can manage pressure at such a young age before they're in the prime, in the professional pro stage? Because it's one thing to see the potential, but it's another thing to say, you know what, I still got a little time. I don't have to put that much pressure on myself.
Yeah, I think one, you have to understand where is that pressure coming from. It could be the parents. A lot of young athletes put a ton of pressure on themselves. It's their own expectations and, desire to be perfect, or they think they can't make a mistake, or fearing failure in some way. And so it's not dissimilar to what I would do with a pro athlete. Is it's really trying to help them focus on the process, focus on a mindset of constant improvement versus these endpoints, and seeing that these endpoints is what brings value to them or to their journey, and to really help them understand that the journey that they're on itself is valuable and is going to be something that's going to benefit them beyond really being the athlete, versus saying, X, Y, and Z has to happen to make this whole thing valuable and worth it.
Well, once again, been watching Sweep Unplug on Sweep the Lead TV with our special guest, Kate Allgood. She's CEO. She's the CEO of the Quantum Performance Incorporated. Go to the website kpathlete.com. Again, that's kpathlete.com. Once again, I want to say thank you, Kate, for your time being on this show, and appreciate what you are bringing to the sports community.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.